Welcome back. So, a number of you have come in this week with concerns about the Iran conflict, war engagement, whatever you would like to call it. And so, we're going to talk about the hidden wounds, or at least maybe a little bit more of modern day warfare today instead of loss of life and limb. So, a recent report came out and it says that more than 350 service members have sustained a traumatic brain injury in the Iran conflict. I don't know how we're coming up with a number so low. In my professional experience, I would probably triple whatever they tell you. So when we look at the damage that's done psychologically and emotionally, we've got a broken system, we've got misdiagnosed veterans, and we've got wounds that we really quote unquote can't treat or we mistreat. So for today, let's identify our three big things that are impacting your life. So number one is the news cycle and this public attention gap. The news is intentionally negative. They are trying to suck you in. They want you to watch. You are simply just a number, which is why the colors are bright, the font is obnoxious, people are constantly yelling. There's no peaceful conversation anymore because that doesn't sell. And so when you think about the amount that you watch the news, genuinely, how much time is it per day? And B, what are you consuming? But C, we have this escalation where the media gets us all wound up and everyone's upset, and then it's just dead silence. We never have any resolution. There's never any end or recap to the story. And that leaves people living in a really heightened place of anxiety where your nervous system can never really de-escalate. So the second piece to that's number one, is the public attention gap, the amount of news. The second piece is the fact that this is reactivating a lot of trauma for many of you. OEF, OIF, Vietnam, whatever you may be. Maybe because you haven't resolved things, maybe just because you've resolved things and you're still pissed off, perfectly acceptable. Or you've just matured and now you're over 40 and you see or realize what happened when you were younger, and you see the next generation going through that. And so how much of this is your own stuff being reactivated by the news? One quote from the 1945 showed that veterans are not finding peace because the current news cycle is pulling old memories to the surface. If your body thinks you're in the sandbox, then your body will act like you are in the sandbox. And so I really need you to question, how much of this do you actually need to know? How much does it influence you? And is it really worth it by that yardstick? My experience as a professional is that this is a normal reaction for all of you, but it doesn't make you feel normal. For everything you've been through, you're perfectly normal, but psychologically, you don't necessarily understand that in the time. You just feel wound up, upset, whatever that may be. Which leads into our third and final piece, the moral injury. So many of you come in and say, I've got PTSD, you very well may. Some of you are just wrong. Sometimes it's moral injury, and moral injury is closely defined as an event either being involved in or witnessing or experiencing to where you could not stop something as a violation of your ethics or your morals. And I would hate to say that is probably a lot of warfare across the board, especially in our modern day warfare with drone pilots and the amount of contact that we have that is from afar. So for example, Sweet Marine comes in to see me, been deployed a few years ago. While he is looking through the scope, he can see said bad guy start to make a child dig a hole for an IED, waiting and waiting and waiting on leadership to give him approval to get rid of said bad guy. Bad guy beats child to death with a rock, and the veteran is forced to watch it through the scope and can't do anything about it. So here we are, years later, dealing with nightmares and the self-hatred and the overwhelming guilt that I should have or could have done something, and I chose not to. I chose to wait on leadership. That is the moral injury piece that a lot of you are living with. So when you think of this conflict, I suspect that this is how many wars will be fought from now on. And although I'm not necessarily concerned about the style of war fighting, the concern is when you all come back. We have a broken system. We misdiagnose all the time, and we give depression meds to people who don't necessarily need them. And we have this invisible wound that we can't ever seem to heal, which leaves you all in constant crisis and sometimes panic, especially with the continuity of care that's been going on and the complaints that I've heard about. This is really an issue. You all need to find somebody who's stable, who you like, who's a consistent, not a rotating door of providers. So please keep those things in mind. One is limit the amount of news consumption. Two, have some awareness. How much of this is activating old things that I have not taken care of? And three, is this really PTSD or is this a moral injury? At the end of the day, it may not matter because they overlap so much, but it is important for you to realize that things did happen that violated your ethics and morals, and you were not necessarily able to stop them. So if y'all have concerns, suggestions, complaints, whatever, put them in the comments below.